Long ago, in the 10th and 11th centuries, the realm of Egypt was under the rule of the Arab-Muslim Fatimid dynasty. These Arab rulers had moved into North Africa and begun their conquest with the force of a relatively small army made out of, for the most part, Berbers, the native people of parts of North Africa. However, following the conquest of Egypt, the Berbers began to settle down as members of Egypt's ruling elite, rather than soldiers. To keep the numbers in their armies up, the Fatimids decided to bolster their forces with slaves from other territories they had conquered. Their foot soldiers were largely black Sudanese slaves that had been imported from the south, and the cavalry was made up of a mix of free Berbers and so-called Mamluk slaves. The Mamluks were largely a slave caste of people of Turkic origin who were not Muslims. As per the beliefs of the Fatimid Muslims, non-Muslims were open to being slaves, and that is how the Mamluks, which literally means slave, became to be servants to the Fatimid Empire. These slave horsemen would find themselves in a bad situation as the Fatimid Empire slowly began to collapse, partly because of the corruption in their taxation system. With low income from taxes, the government found itself unable to pay for their army, and soldiers looted and raided the countryside. These factions tended to be drawn upon cultural lines as Mamluks, Berbers, and Sudanese clashed with each other, all while weakening the power of the Fatimid Arabs. By the 1160s, the region was facing invasion from Europe during the Crusades, and the Fatimid Empire was collapsing against the Christian invaders, losing key areas such as Antioch and Jerusalem. Egypt, too, was being invaded by the Christians, but one Salah al-Din ibn Ayyub led a professional army of Kurds and successfully kicked the Christians out of Egypt in a jihad before recapturing Jerusalem, sparking the Christians to launch the Third Crusade. Salah al-Din became a hero to many in the Muslim world and a great opponent in the Christian world. Upon the death of the last of the Fatimids in 1171, Salah al-Din became the ruler of Egypt in the new Ayyubid dynasty. Salah al-Din reformed Egypt and brought Egypt back to stability and even prosperity while transforming Cairo into a major center for Islamic learning and culture. Salah al-Din also reformed the military to be connected with taxation while importing more Mamluk slaves from Turkey. The Mamluks, as part of Salah al-Din's army, became known for their bow and arrow and light curved sword while being mounted on horseback. Because of their skill in the military, the Mamluk officers received iktas, a type of feudal fief. This was part of the military taxation reformation Salah al-Din passed, and so many Mamluks became nobility, even gaining the title of emir. In 1250, a group of Mamluk emirs murdered the last sultan of the Ayyubid Empire and took over Egypt themselves. And so, a class of people that originated as slaves took over a country and founded an empire. Mamluk Egypt was a military dictatorship that continued to import new Mamluks from Turkey and southern Russia, extending their rule into Palestine and Syria. Their unique fighting style saved them from the invading Mongols and crushed the Fourth Crusade, increasing Mamluk prestige. Mamluk Egypt began to become the dominant Muslim power and held influence over Muslim holy cities of Medina and Mecca. It didn't take long before Cairo itself found itself a pilgrimage site, like Medina and Mecca, with Muslim leaders like Mansa Musa from Mali even going on a pilgrimage to Cairo. With gold and emerald mines developed with slaves and control over the Red Sea for trade in the western Indian Ocean, Mamluk Egypt continued to grow. However, at the same time, the Mamluks fell into the same trap the Fatimids did earlier, in which they taxed the peasantry of Egypt to the breaking point. Arab peasants were heavily oppressed and confined to their fiefs and taken off the land if they were unable to pay any tax to their Mamluk overlords. Many gave everything they had to the tax system. Indeed, it is estimated that only 10,000 Mamluks held power over 4 or 5 million Egyptians. As time went on, many Mamluks began to rule over their ikta and their ikta alone, and their military service decreased. With corruption, public works slowed, and the dams and canals upon which Egyptian society thrived upon were blocked and the agricultural production slowed. Alongside drought and locust infestation and plague, the farms were abandoned and followed by famine. The Sultan of Mamluk Egypt could no longer count on the Mamluks to serve in the military, and so he taxed trade heavily to pay for the army, which caused trade with Egypt to decline just as the Portuguese were arriving in the Indian Ocean to become a new conduit for trade between the Mediterranean and Indian Ocean. Meanwhile, the Mamluks were still proud of their unique fighting styles that saved them from the Mongols. However, they did not keep up with the times, and in 1517, the Ottoman Turks, armed with firearms and a more modernized and organized army, drove into Mamluk Egypt, took their Palestinian territories, and finally conquered Egypt. The Mamluks began as non-Muslim slaves who found opportunity in the foolish tax policies until they became the Muslim overlords who did not learn from the failures that led to their rise. And so, Egypt fell, and in its place, the expanding Ottoman Empire began to rise. And that's going to wrap up today's video on the Mamluk rule over Egypt. I hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something new. If you like history or really anything nerdy, subscribe to this channel for new nerdy content. If you want to support me in what I do, the best way would be to support me on Patreon. Check out all my social media links in the description, and thank you very much for watching. Have a great day, ladies and gentlemen. Huge thanks to our patrons, including this month's $10 plus patron Josh Adkins. Check out the description for more patrons and more info about how you can receive a shout out here.
Keep on fighting, keep on clashing till we